Good day, Deep in Word family. Welcome to day 130 of our Bible study review. Today we're going through chapters 49 through 51 of the book of Isaiah. So the theme at the beginning of chapter 49 is the servant of Yahuwah or Yahuwah, right? And we see that the servant changes from the people Israel into our Messiah. We're going to start reading and let's just get into it. So starting here in verse 1, it says, "Listen to me, O coastlands, and pay attention, you peoples from afar. Yahuwah called me from the womb. From the body of my mother he named me. He has made my mouth like a sharp sword, and in the shadow of his hand he has hidden me, and made me a select arrow. In his quiver he has hidden me. He has said to me, you are my servant, Israel, in whom I am glorified. Then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for nothing in vanity. Yet surely the justice due to me is with Yahuwah, and my reward is with my Elohim." The first 4 verses are talking about Israel, the people being the servant, but not a good one. They labored in vain. Why did they labor in vain? Because they weren't following the commands. They broke the covenant over and over again. Israel was called to be a light unto the nations, right? To bring the nations to the truth of the one true El. But did Israel do that? No. Israel allowed themselves to be influenced by the nations, and they started sacrificing to other gods. So what is going to be the remedy? Because Israel, the people as the servant, has failed. So we know that the Father is going to send a better servant. How do we know that this is split up in talking about the Messiah? Words like now, words like then. It breaks it up so we know that there's a change in who he is talking about. And it says right here in verse 5, "Now, says Yahuwah, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob, who is Israel, back to him," back to the Father, all right? We see in the previous chapters from yesterday, Yahuwah called Cyrus, a pagan king, to bring Jacob back to Jerusalem. But now we see this servant of Yahuwah, who is the Son, the Messiah. He is called to bring Israel back to their Creator, back to the Father. But let's keep reading. It says, so that Israel might be gathered to him, to Abba, okay? "Yet I am honored in the eyes of Yahuwah, and my Elohim is my strength." Let's read verses 6 through 7. He says, "It is a light thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob." The 10 tribes were scattered into the nations, right? And who is gathering them? By his Spirit, he is gathering the lost tribes of Israel. That's you and I, y'all, okay? I know there's much debate out there and people are still preaching a separation doctrine, but that's not what we preach over here, okay? We preach the truth of Scripture. And it says right here, "And to restore the preserved ones of Israel." How are they preserved? By his word, by the word who put on flesh. Stop playing, y'all, all right? "I will also make you a light to the nations." That's Messiah. It is not just about a physical people with the DNA. He says you must be born of the Spirit. Our Yahuwah Elohim, he is Spirit. And if we're going to be his children, we have to be born of his Spirit. All right? The flesh has to pass away. All right? So if you are physical Judah, if you are physical Naphtali, but you deny his word, you deny his covenant, you won't enter the kingdom. Let me go back and read through it. It says, "I will also make you a light to the nations, so that my salvation may reach to the ends of the earth, to all flesh, so that all flesh may be born of his Spirit." Okay? "Thus says Yahuwah, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to the despised one, to the one whom the nation abhors." Which nation? Israel. Much of Israel abhors the word who put on flesh. Come on, y'all. "To the servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise, princes also shall worship, because Yahuwah, who is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, who has chosen you." Now we get into this portion of chapter 49 that talks about the restoration of Israel, the people, but also Zion, right? This holy place where the people dwell. And it all starts with the great shepherd. So let's start reading from the middle of verse 8 and read down. It says, "And I will preserve you and give you as a covenant of the people to restore the earth." The Son was given so that he may restore all things back unto himself, all right? And it says, "They shall feed along the paths, and their pastures shall be in the desolate heights, and they shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun strike them. For he who has mercy on them shall lead them, even by the springs of water he shall guide them." That is Messiah. Verse 12, it says, see, these shall come from afar, and these will come from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim. I don't know where the land of Sinim is. It's probably an ancient territory, and it's probably been renamed to something else, all right? But let's keep reading. It says, sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains, for Yahuwah has comforted his people and will have mercy on his afflicted. Verse 14, we start getting into this portion where Mount Zion is likened to a woman who has lost her children. She has become barren, and now she is upset because she's talking to Yahuwah Elohim, right? And she's saying, you have forsaken me, you forgot about me. So let's just start reading. It says, but Zion said, Yahuwah has forsaken me, and Yahuwah has forgotten me. And then he responds back to her and he says, can a woman forget her nursing child and have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget. See, I have inscribed you in the palms of my hand. So he's reassuring Zion, the place, right? The Holy Land. He says, I haven't forgotten about you. I will restore to you what belongs to you. And he further responds to Mount Zion in verse 18. This is beautiful. He says, lift up your eyes and look around. All these gather themselves together and come to you. As I live, says Yahuwah, you shall surely put on all of them as ornaments and bind them on you as a bride does. So this is now alluding to New Jerusalem. In New Jerusalem, we are called her ornaments or her adornment, right? And I just want to take you to Revelation chapter 21, and we're going to read through verses 1 and 2. This is beautiful. So here it is. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, adorned for her husband. All right? And so we see that the holy city, Mount Zion, is basically New Jerusalem. New Jerusalem comes down and she is dressed with us. All right, we are her adornment. Now, she's called a bride, but we're also called a bride as well. All of us are being prepared for this glorious time of the renewed covenant. And now for the synonymous language that calls us a bride being prepared as well. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 2. It says, for I am jealous over you with godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chastened virgin to Christ. So he's called the husband. We are also likened as a bride, much like Mount Zion or New Jerusalem is called a bride adorned for her husband. All right. What is a city without the inhabitants? Okay. So it's synonymous language. So Yahuwah reassures Mount Zion through the mouth of, Isaiah, that she will be restored. Her children will return back to her in greater number. So this is what he says to her, and then she responds. Okay, so verse 20, the children whom you shall have after you have lost the others shall say in your ears, the place is too cramped for me. Make room for me that I may dwell here. And this is how she responds. Then you shall say in your heart, who bore these for me, since I have lost my children and I am barren, a captive and a wanderer? And who has brought these up? I was left alone. From where did these come? She's like, I have all these children, but I didn't bear them. They didn't come out of me. She's like, where did they come from? Then Yahuwah responds back to her, and this is what he says in verse 22. Thus says Yahuwah Elohim, see, I will lift up my hand to the nations and set up my standard to the peoples. The standard is Messiah, okay? And they shall bring your sons in their arms, and your daughters shall be carried on their shoulders. The other nations will carry your people. Kings shall be your foster fathers, and their queens your nursing mothers. They shall bow down to you with their faces towards the ground and lick up the dust of your feet. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah. For those who wait for me shall not be ashamed. Those who wait on his salvation will not be ashamed. And let's close out the first chapter with verses 25 through 26. He talks about protecting his people. For thus says Yahuwah, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the tyrant shall be delivered. For I will contend with him who contends with you, and I will save your sons. I will feed those who oppress you with their own flesh. This is what he's saying in the very end. Those who oppress his children, he says, the way their bellies will be filled will be with their own flesh. And he says, and they shall be drunk with their own blood as sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I, Yahuwah, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. He reassures us and he warns those who oppress us and contend against us. That's how bad it's going to be for them. Now we walk into chapter 50, and let's just start reading from the very front. It says, where is the certificate of divorce by which I sent your mother away? We know that the 10 tribes were sent off, dispersed, right, within all of the nations of the earth. And he says, can you find the certificate of divorce? Can you find it? Is there a paper somewhere? Can you find it? Right? Because he's always made a way back for his people, because he's going to fulfill his promises. He says right here, or to which of my creditors did I sell you? Now this is talking about indentured servitude, right? Back in the day, you could not file bankruptcy. If you were indebted to someone, you sold yourself to that person until the debt could be paid off. But if 7 years passed, right, and the debt could not be paid, there was a jubilee, all right? Our Messiah is our jubilee. Let's just keep reading. He says, for your iniquities you were sold. He goes, I didn't sell you. You sold yourself to sin. You sold yourself. Therefore, you had to go. You had to get up out of my house, right? Because sin separates us from him, all right? And he says, and for your transgressions, your mother was sent away. And he says, why? When I came, was there no man, right? He goes, I came, I called for you, and no one showed up. No one responded to me, right? He gave Israel chance after chance after chance to return, right? He used the mouths of the prophets telling them, turn back, turn back, turn back, lest you be treated like the other nations, right? Because he is not partial to man. He has given his covenant to you. He's saying, turn back. You are my people, but if you do not turn back, these curses shall come upon you, just like the other nations. I want to take you to Isaiah chapter 59, verse 2, and you will see that Israel, all of the 12 tribes, they are the ones who sold themselves, all right? So let's see right here in verse 2. But your iniquities have made a separation between you and your Elohim, and your sins have hidden his face from you, so that he will not hear. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. He said, that's why you were sold. That's why I didn't hear you. You know, chance after chance, I sent you warning. You wouldn't hear me. And that is why you just had to be punished, right? Because I chasten who I love, says Yahuwah. And now starting at verse 4, back in chapter 50 of Isaiah, we are going to read about the shepherd. We're going to read about Messiah, the true servant of Israel. He says, Yahuwah Elohim has given me the tongue of the learned, that I may know how to sustain him who is weary with a word. He awakens me morning by morning. He awakens my ear to listen as the learned. Yahuwah Elohim has opened my ear, and I was not rebellious, nor did I turn back. I gave my back to those who struck me, and my cheeks to those who plucked out my beard. I did not cover my face from shame and spitting. That's what they did to him, y'all. For Yahuwah Elohim will help me. Therefore I will not be disgraced. Therefore I have set my face like a flint, and I know that I will not be ashamed. He who vindicates me is near. Who will contend with me? And now I'm going to finish out chapter 50 with verse 10. It says, who among you fears Yahuwah? Who obeys the voice of his servant? That's Messiah, y'all. Who walks in darkness and has no light, right? He's making a declaration. He is our Jubilee. All of us have put into the bank account a sin debt that is like the debt of America, right? America has so much debt they could never pay it off. And that is synonymous with us. We have sinned so much, right? And before holy God, one sin means you're indebted to him forever. But we know that our Messiah came down, who's fully God, who's fully man, right? And he was able to walk out the Torah completely so that he could be our payment and wipe away our debt. He is our Jubilee. And now we walk into chapter 51. This is talking about the eternal salvation of Zion. So let's start reading in verse 1. Listen to me, you who pursue righteousness, you who seek Yahuwah, who look to the rock from which you were hewn. That is our Messiah. Nothing was created unless it came through him. He is the light of all of mankind. All right, let's skip to verse 4. And it says, listen to me, O my people, and give ear to me, O my nation, for a law shall proceed from me, and I set my justice as a light of the peoples. Y'all, just go back to Isaiah chapter 2, and we talked about this time of the millennial reign where our Messiah is going to speak the law from Mount Zion, right? And most likely this will be every year at the Feast of Tabernacles, right? And he not only is going to correct what we have wrongly believed, but he's going to teach the other nations righteousness and justice. The other nations have the opportunity to accept Messiah, right? And if they do right by him, they can live the entire 1,000 years and they will be fully flesh. They won't be like us, right? But they'll be fully flesh. They'll be able to repopulate the earth. And if they are faithful to the king, they are blessed with long life like those in the very beginning of the book, right? Like Noah, like the early man, they lived 800-900 years, right? We've seen prophecy before that if a man dies at 100 years old, he is considered a baby, right? But if he dies that young, it's because he's rebellious, that he is rebellious against Messiah during the millennial reign. He's not going to be playing games with no one. Let's keep reading down in the middle of verse 6. It says, "For the heavens shall vanish away like smoke, and the earth shall grow old like a garment, and those who dwell in it shall die in like manner. But my salvation shall be forever, and my righteousness shall not be abolished." Okay? Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law nor the prophets. I have come to fulfill it." And he says, those who teach against the least of these commandments, right? Those who speak against it and teach others to do likewise will be called least in the kingdom. Go read Matthew chapter 5, verse 17, all right? And then he also says, "But those who teach the righteousness of his commandments and teach others to do likewise will be called greatest in the kingdom." Y'all, that's what I'm after. Verse 7, it says, "Listen to me, you who know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my Torah." The people in whose heart is my law. Now, this is not Jeremiah 31:31, because that doesn't happen until New Jerusalem. But our hearts have been changed. And as we read his word, right, this is where it's being settled. It's being settled upon our hearts, all right? And it says, "Do not fear the reproach of men, nor be afraid of their revilings, for the moth shall eat them up like a garment." He says they're going to dwindle away. "And the worm shall eat them like wool, but my righteousness shall be forever, and my salvation from generation to generation." That is our hope, y'all. At the end of the chapter, it says, "The redeemed of Yahuwah shall come to Zion, singing." He is our comfort. He is our hope. He protects us. And he says, all of us, right, like unto Israel in the ancient days when they were exiled because of unrighteousness, right? And we have been spread out all across the nations. He says that exile will soon end. All of the righteous children who are returning to the spirit of Zion, right? Which is where the law comes forth, right? It comes forth from this holy place, which is called Zion. And those who chase after the word, those who chase after the spirit of truth of the word, he says, you will return back to this holy place. That is your promise. Let that sizzle in your spirit, Deep in Word family. I hope that this has blessed you. And now your eyes are opened more to Mount Zion, this holy mountain, this holy place that New Jerusalem comes down and the children just return to their rightful owner, right? Because we were leased out, pimped out to Satan when we decided to, fulfill the desires of our flesh, right? If we're doing works of the flesh, then your daddy is Satan. Well, that's who our daddy used to be, but our true father is calling us back through the Son, all right? So anyways, y'all, I hope you enjoyed it. That's all that I have for you today. Until tomorrow, Yah bless.